Hello, hello, hello. This is your boy Brandon Correa, aka Earfont of Entertainment, and we are back with another review and a big one we got today. You could tell by the shirt. This is the Black Panther, my Black Panther Wakanda Forever spoiler review. This is a spoiler review. I'm going to get into big spoilerish details. So if you don't want to hear that, make sure you go watch the movie and come back. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you think you'd be interested in content like this, movie and TV show reviews, trailer reactions, entertainment news updates, subscribe to the Brandon Correa Network. You will not regret it. Now let's get into this Wakanda Forever review. I got a lot to say. I apologize from now if I get a little loud or I get a little passionate. I have a lot to say. So let's get into this. So everybody knows that, let's get into the external outside the movie stuff first. Everyone knows that our king Chadwick Boseman, actor that donned the Black Panther mantle to start, passed away, and they were gonna have to deal with that. And Marvel decided not to recast, and that they were gonna have to go forward with this story without him, without the character, not only without Chadwick Boseman, but without the character of T'Challa. So there was a lot of anticipation and excitement going into this movie because the audience, the fans, were looking to see what they were gonna do with this character, with this franchise, with this world that they've built of Wakanda without Chadwick and without T'Challa. So this movie had a lot of external things that it had to overcome for it to even come to fruition, for it to even come to screen, and for it to be a quality movie. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but Ryan Coogler had the script done for this movie before he found out about Chadwick, and he had to go back and rewrite everything. So externally, I'm trying to just isolate it from the movie. There was a lot of stuff that everybody involved had to deal with. So kudos to them, kudos to everyone, the actors, actresses, crew, producers, everybody involved. Kudos to you guys for being able to push through and get this out. Honestly, amazing job. And even Ryan Coogler, you are amazing. Your efficiency rate from the field is absolutely amazing. You are just knocking it out of the park every time. You're amazing, and I really hope you get Avengers Secret Wars. I know there have been word out there that he could potentially direct it, and I really hope he does, because he did an amazing job with this, having to do the audible that he had to do, basically having his script done, having to change the script. So the audible that he had to do, a major audible that I feel like a lot of people would have had trouble with. So I really hope he gets his dues and he's able to get more projects to come, because he did an absolutely amazing job. So now that that is out of the way, the external stuff, things that I wanted to talk about, let's get into the movie. And I promise when I'm reviewing the movie, I'm really going to just try and isolate just the movie that I saw and not include the external things that happened in my review of the movie, even though it's really difficult not to include these things because it's such a major and tragic thing that happened. But I'm really going to try my best. So there are some people coming out and saying that they didn't enjoy this movie, or it really fell short for them, or it didn't work for them. For me, it worked for me. So obviously there's things that I didn't like or didn't really work for me, but for the most part, this movie worked for me and I really enjoyed it. So one of the biggest reasons I think people are not really feeling the movie is I don't think they're really feeling Shuri either becoming Black Panther or her arc of becoming Black Panther, because maybe they had the idea that they should have recasted T'Challa and really kept T'Challa as a character in the MCU and as that character forefront. But I think people are kind of missing what the actual movie was about. And to me, there's three overarching kind of main things, right? But to me, there's levels to them, right? There's obviously the Namor stuff, right? Which is them building out that universe and that world. Because again, this isn't just, as much as he was the antagonist in this movie, he isn't like a villain like the majority of villains we've had in the MCU. He is the true definition of an anti-hero in the MCU, where yes, he goes against heroes certain times, but for the most part and a lot of times he is working with the Avengers or working with heroes to stop bad guys, right? So they're basically using part of Wakanda Forever to build out the introduction of Namor's character and the world that he comes from. Something that would be done in a solo movie. Wakanda Forever basically had to deal and build that out while dealing with the Chadwick stuff. And I know I said I'm not bringing the external stuff in, but because that happened and they had to include Shuri becoming Black Panther and that arc, which is another main part about what the movie is about. If by chance that didn't happen, and say Chadwick and T'Challa was in it and they just had to spend time maybe building out the Namor universe, there was still going to be a lot of time spent to building out Talocan and that character. And other complaints I've been hearing from people is the middle of the movie getting a little slow and getting a little boring. And that was the part where they were exploring the Talocan universe. And they really had to spend to me, a little bit more time there because this is going to be a big character and a big part of the universe, like a big new superpower in the world of the MCU going forward. They had to spend a good amount of time on this part of the movie. So like I was saying, to me, there was three main things going on about the movie. Shuri's arc to becoming Black Panther, them building out Namor. But to me, what the movie was about mainly was about the geopolitics going on in the world, about warring countries, having different views, fighting over resources. To me, that's what the movie is actually and really about. And those conflicts and those ideas is what actually sparks Shuri to have to go on her arc to become Black Panther. Sparks Namor to feel like he has to come out of hiding and reveal himself to the Wakandans, right? The geopolitics is what actually drives the movie and the characters and the plot for them to do and make the decisions that they do. So I really feel like a lot of people are focusing on the Shuri part. And like I mentioned, there's these layers. I really feel like a lot of people are focusing on the Shuri becoming Black Panther part because a lot of their focus is, okay, we know Chadwick passed and they're going to have to figure out a new Black Panther. So I really feel like a lot of people, and let me know in the comments if you think those other parts of the movie is what the movie's actually about. But I really think that people are thinking that Shuri becoming Black Panther and that arc is the main part of the movie, and her becoming Black Panther, people aren't really happy with or okay with because maybe they wanted T'Challa to stay in as a character. But to me, what the movie is really about is the geopolitics. And to me, that's why I really enjoyed this movie, because whenever the MCU gets into that bag, that's my favorite section of the MCU. Winter Soldier, Civil War, where they're dealing with geopolitics, politics, just things of that nature. Like and those two movies, Winter Soldier and Civil War, are in my top 5 MCU movies. So that's why when I got into Wakanda Forever, and one of the beginning scenes is Ramonda coming to the UN and basically explaining to the UN that, yes, our king has died. And you may think that we're weak and that we can't take care of our resources, but that's not the case, because we see that there's a offshore site where they're mining vibranium or something like that. And we see soldiers that we find out were sent from France run up on the place to try and get vibranium, but the Dora Milaje were there to stop them. They brought the soldiers to the UN to basically give them to the French, showing that there's warring nations and nations trying to, now that they know Wakanda has these resources, classic, they're trying to go and steal the resources. So I really like that they focused on that. And from the beginning of the movie, they highlighted that, and they highlighted that that's what the movie is going to be about. And everything kind of spawned off from that jumping off point, from the French soldiers trying to get the vibranium to Ramonda responding and bringing them and presenting them to the UN. That is what sparks literally everything and all the other characters to make certain decisions and the events to happen the way they happen. So I really feel like people are just missing the point and the main plot of the movie, and that's why they're saying they didn't enjoy it as much as they thought they would. Because don't get me wrong, and I'm going to get into it when I get into the things that I didn't really like as much. I wasn't the biggest fan of Shuri becoming the Black Panther either, but I didn't let that part take me away, because I knew deep in my mind, as I was just trying to take in the movie, that Chadwick passed away and that they are doing this because someone needs to have the mantle of Black Panther, and that this does happen in the comics. So it's not super crazy for them to do this. So I understood that deep in my mind. So as I was watching it, I was really focusing on the geopolitics, and I really think this movie shined in that area really well. And maybe I just have my cape on because I really like when the MCU gets into that part of its genres, right? Because the MCU has a whole bunch of different genres that it likes to play with now. But when it gets into that bag, I absolutely love it. Sorry if I went off on a little rant or a little tangent, or if I seem a little defensive. I just feel like from all the reviews and things that I've been hearing, I just feel like a lot of people are missing the actual plot. Even though there were some points where it was kind of convoluted and a little disconnected and disjointed, I still was able to see what the main plot was. So that's all I really want to say for that part of it, that I really liked that part of the plot and that part of this movie. So some other things that were standouts to me, the acting in this movie was absolutely phenomenal. The performances were great. You really saw the hurt that the actresses and actors were feeling from the loss of Chadwick channeled through their performances, and not in a way where it took you out and you were seeing the actor be sad for Chadwick, but you really saw them channel it in the performance, and you saw Shuri be sad for her brother T'Challa, or Ramonda be sad for her son, or Okoye be sad for the loss of her king, who she was like really in a sense friends with, because you saw them kind of joking around. So you saw that these characters and these performances were really just channeling that loss and that hurt that they experienced. And to me, it really enhanced the film and enhanced the emotion of the film. Angela Bassett was an absolute monster in this. She knocked it out of the park like Barry Bonds. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets nominated for an Oscar or even wins an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. And I know there've kind of been talks and buzz already, so that needs to happen, because she honestly bodied it. Because her speech in the beginning, when she showed her power and her strength to the UN, but then also the speech that she had to Okoye when she was kind of upset at Okoye for losing Shuri, that was an excellent moment. So Angela Bassett just absolutely knocked it out of the park, along with Okoye and even Shuri. Honestly, like Shuri, I'm gonna go into it more. Shuri, outside of like the Black Panther arc, like her showing her emotions and her showing her true hurt and her anger towards all these bad things happening to her, was absolutely amazing. My guy M'Baku killed it again. I love Winston Duke. I loved M'Baku from Black Panther 1, Infinity. I love every time he's on screen. I love it. And honestly, like, I'm so happy they decided to make him the king and ruler of Wakanda, because he's been there. He's probably T'Challa's like kind of right-hand man at that time. We even hear in the movie that T'Challa asked him to kind of guide Shuri. So I'm really glad that they made him the king. And I honestly called that. I know, you may not believe me, but I had a feeling that even though they would make Shuri Black Panther, or one of the females Black Panther, and I'm going to get into that, I had a feeling that they would make M'Baku the king of Wakanda, the ruler of Wakanda, and rightfully so, he earned it. M'Baku, my guy. Now, the other standout performance was Tenoch Huerta. Me personally, I don't have a big connection to Namor, or I don't really know too much about him. And I know I've been hearing a lot of people say they've deviated a lot from the comics to make this iteration of Namor. Like I said, I don't have a big connection to him in the comics. I don't really know too much about him, other than he was in the Illuminati and on a bigger, like, I don't really know him outside of that kind of bigger scale. So to me, I enjoyed the iteration. I've also been hearing that they didn't really give him too much to work with. And honestly, like, as an actor, and I know you may not believe me, I have an IMDb page linked to my YouTube. You can check it out. As an actor, like, I feel like they gave him a lot to work with, and with what he got, he killed it. I really felt his emotion, his pride for his people, his hate for the outside world and the people that ruled above. Like, all those things really came through in his performances. So honestly, Tenoch Huerta, you killed it. To me, I really enjoyed your performance, and I'm excited to see Namor and your iteration of Namor in the MCU going forward. I really am. Now, where I think this movie shined a little bit stronger than the first one is in the plot. And again, I keep going back to that geopolitics plot. That is the main plot of the movie. So I think the plot in this movie is a little bit stronger. But what made Black Panther 1 strong and stronger than this one was the character moments and developments and interactions and dynamics between characters in that movie. Even though this movie had really good character moments and interactions and dynamics, the first one, in my opinion, had stronger of those things than this particular movie. But this movie did it really well nonetheless. So a quick spoiler detail that I just want to get into before I kind of get into the stuff that I didn't really like about the movie. Honestly, I am so shocked. And again, this is a spoiler. I am so shocked that they ended up killing off Ramonda, like Shuri's mom. And like, I get it for her arc, but I'm still very shocked that they decided to kill her off in this movie, even with the loss of T'Challa and Chadwick. I'm very shocked that me and my friend were sitting next to each other, jaw dropped, and we couldn't even get past that moment for like a couple minutes when they ended up doing that. That was crazy to me. Also, another spoiler detail that I want to get into happens at the end of the movie. Is basically the post-credit scene. And the reason why I want to get into this now is because this is a moment that I really liked and I really enjoyed. And it kind of goes back to my defense of the whole plot thing. So I'm going to get into it. So this post-credit scene, we see Shuri go to Haiti to meet up with Lupita Nyong'o, Nakia, because that's where she's living now. She's doing work out there. So she comes, meets up with her, and she basically comes there to have a ceremony by the beach where she kind of burns her funeral clothes and moves on past the loss that she's experienced. So when she does that, we see Nakia bring out a little boy, and she introduces the little boy. And literally, I know you're not going to believe me. Before she came out, I was like, yo, I honestly thought that, I said to my friend, I was like, I honestly thought that they were going to show Nakia pregnant or Nakia have a baby, and that they were going to show that that happened before he passed away. Lo and behold, she starts to walk down the beach towards Shuri with a young boy. And he looks a little older, but you have to remember that the blip happened, right? Because Black Panther was before the blip. So they probably, you know what I mean, consummated, popped off. The blip happened, 5 years happened, right? So she probably didn't get snapped, and 5 years happened. So the kid's older than we probably suspect. So the kid's older than we would assume. So Shuri is introduced to T'Challa's son, and she has, honestly, that was probably, to me, one of the most heartfelt moments when the son was like, that's my Haitian name. And Shuri's like, who are you? In like their tongue. And you hear him go, I'm T'Challa, son of T'Challa. That got me, that honestly hit me so deep. You see that the reason that they did this is that Nakia and T'Challa talked about this beforehand, and they wanted him to grow up away from the pressure of the throne. We even hear that Ramonda was able to meet T'Challa, her grandson, before she passed away, which was awesome to hear, amazing to hear. And honestly, that moment really got me deep in my feels. So that's why I really wanted to just kind of get that out of the way before I get into the things I didn't like, because that moment I really enjoyed. And it goes to show that as much as they didn't recast T'Challa, they recasted T'Challa. They're basically saying to you that when he gets older and years down the line in the MCU, there's going to be a point where T'Challa, son of T'Challa, is going to be the Black Panther of the MCU. And that even though he's not going to be T'Challa that we know from son of T'Chaka, it's still going to be a T'Challa Black Panther that we'll have in the MCU at some point. So I love that they did that. They basically showed why we didn't recast. So it kind of, to me anyway, puts that notion of, of Shuri becoming Black Panther, and that arc isn't great. Because again, the main plot of the movie is the geopolitics. So now quickly, I want to get into the things that I didn't really enjoy too much about the movie. I thought the pacing could have been a little bit better. The part when they were exploring Talocan maybe could have been done a little bit better and a little bit tighter. But like I said, I enjoyed that part because I understand why they had to spend a lot more time on that part. Also, the time that they spent with kind of like the side characters when it would go to Martin Freeman's character, or even the time that it spent with Riri's character, as much as I didn't mind Riri, I enjoyed her, and I understand why they had her in the movie to basically have her as that thing, why the Wakandans and Talokans went to war initially. But honestly, like, I could have maybe had the parts with her tightened up a little bit, and the parts with Everett Ross maybe not even in it, or tightened up more to tighten up the movie as a whole. That's probably one thing I feel like could have been done a little bit better. Another thing I probably thought could have been done a little bit better was the action scenes. The action scenes to me were a little bit underwhelming, but that's how I felt in the first Black Panther. And I'm honestly convinced now that action is tertiary, down on the list to Ryan Coogler. Characters, plot, storytelling, those are his main focus, and he super excels at that. I just really feel like he doesn't put too much emphasis on the action because they are a little underwhelming. And it's definitely not because he's bad at shooting action, because we saw the first Creed and the camera work in those fight scenes were absolutely amazing. So I really think he just doesn't put too much emphasis on the fight scenes because he wants his audience to focus more on the characters and the actual plot. Now, the final thing that I probably didn't really fully agree with or fully didn't enjoy, and I mentioned it throughout this review, was Shuri becoming Black Panther. I thought for sure this whole time they would get to a point where Nakia would become the Black Panther, or even Okoye, because they're more battle experience and have a lot of field experience. So when I was watching the movie and I realized that they were starting to head it towards Shuri, I was like, I get it and I understand it, but I didn't fully get on board with it, because not only was she fighting it and against it the whole time, but like I said, she doesn't have a lot of battle experience. And I just felt like she would be better served staying in the lab, being the smartest person on the planet, basically creating and innovating things for everybody and all the heroes, like, because she is now like the smartest person on the planet. Like, I probably would have preferred her to stay in that part and her explore that part, because she does like being in her lab and using her technology to better things. You really see that in this movie. So I really wish that they kind of had her in that role longer, and then maybe down the line became Black Panther like she does in the comics. But like I said, I understand why they went with this decision now to make her the Black Panther now. But again, like I said, I didn't really fully enjoy it, fully get on board with it, or even fully, I guess, believe it in a sense that she was the new Black Panther, if that makes sense. But on a positive note, I really did enjoy that they showed that she wasn't just some amazing fighter, that she wasn't just doing like these triple flip kicks like T'Challa was doing in Civil War, right? That she did have to rely more on her technology to defeat her opponents. As in, she had to make like that sauna inside the ship to dry out Namor, to use like the weapons against Namor, to decide to use like the engine on her crashed plane so that the fire from the engine would burn up Namor to dry him out even more, for her to get the advantage. So to me, they showed a good job of showing that she isn't just some badass fighter and that she'll have to use her mind to overcome these things. And as much as I didn't really fully enjoy her becoming the new Black Panther, I did, like I mentioned, I loved her arc in this movie. Her showing her hurt in this movie, but then her also showing her anger and being like, I'm angry at the world, and that her intellect and her brain is fighting that spiritual part of her, because her culture is really spiritual. You could see when they take the herb and they go back to the ancestral planes, right? You see that there's a lot of spirituality based in Wakanda, even though they're really advanced in technology. But with Shuri, she was really fighting that spiritual part of her and having her head and her intellect lead her the majority of the way. So I really liked her arc of her becoming an angry person because of all this loss, but then realizing she needed to do better and be better, which she ultimately ends up doing. So I enjoyed her arc as much as her being Black Panther in this moment. I may not fully enjoy. I really loved and appreciated her arc to becoming that character. So honestly, I don't think I really have much else to say. I really think that's the majority of things that I want to go over. I want to say again, I enjoyed the movie. I think maybe more than majority of audiences maybe, and maybe I could be wrong, because I'm hearing that it's really 50-50 and it's kind of split. There's people that loved it, or there's people that liked it but didn't love it. I loved it. It's not the greatest. It's not my favorite MCU movie. I'm not coming out here saying, yo, this is the best MCU movie to date. I'm not saying that at all, because Winter Soldier is still my number one. Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, like those four are like cemented with the top four. You know what I mean? Like for sure. But this movie was really good, and I really enjoyed it because of the geopolitic plot of this movie, which was the main point of this movie. So that is it for this review. That is it for this video. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you think you'd be interested in content like this, subscribe to the Brandon Cry Network. Got movie, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, entertainment news, updates. And let me know in the comments if you've seen the movie and what you thought about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Whatever your thoughts are, I honestly want to know what everybody is thinking and how they're feeling, because everybody was obviously affected by the passing of Chadwick Boseman and not being able to get T'Challa in the MCU. So let me know in the comments, please, what you thought about the movie. If you didn't like it, what you didn't like. If you liked it, what you liked. If you liked the first one more than this one, where this one ranks in all your MCU movies, whatever comes to your mind about this movie, please let me know in the comments, and subscribe to the Brandon Cry Network. Like I said, you will not regret it. I appreciate you for watching. Catch you next time.